Hey, Rayshell.
Hello, how y'all doing? Happy to be
Good.
here. Happy to be here.
Yes, we're so glad you're here too. I just wanted I'm so impressed with the work that you've been doing with the Painted Brain. You are like started your own organization as peer-led. So can you just tell me a little bit about you and like what you've been doing with the Painted Brain and how you got here? Like how did you get here?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Ton, and thank you everyone. Thank you all the people that came at 5 o'clock. You know, to hear us discuss this topic. And I always tell folks when I'm talking, it's not on accident that you're here with me today. That I willed you here. You're here to learn, to experience, and I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful to share my journey. And I don't really separate my journey from my like personal life and professional because it's all been real connected. Like as you had mentioned, and again, not every time I tell you, I'm sorry for your loss. Um, my son's name is Miles too, so it's also connects to me when I'm at Ton. But my family has experienced mental illness, substance use, hospitalization, and loss. We lost my older sister Katie to an overdose. And today, my niece receives full service partnership services that most people know FSP through a county department. So, when we're talking about navigating services and advocating for your family, I'm not speaking based on theory. I'm speaking like as an auntie, as a sister, as someone like myself, as someone with a lived experience that has been hospitalized and navigated mental health services since I was 6. I've been navigating that as a family member and a peer. So when I speak to you about my journey and how I got here with Painted Brain and my personal life, it all kind of goes together. And I usually get this daily proverbs, and I really wanted to leave you guys with this because I was like, well, what can I tell you about the journey? But the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time today is today. And that quote is really a quote about recovery because recovery is like planting a tree. We can't change yesterday. I can't bring Katie back. I can't take back the times that I've been hospitalized. I can't undo some of the decisions that had me impacted with the criminal justice system. But I can make the choice today. I can decide to plant the tree today as a family member, as a person with lived experience, that I'm going to seek help, that I'm going to use my resources. And that's how that perspective changed my life. And that's what started my own recovery journey. And eventually we started Painted Brain. There was two other co-founders. At the same time, one of the other co-founders, we both lost a family member to an overdose. And I think that that was a driving force from a project that started 10 years before that. Now we're in our 20th year, but 10 years as a nonprofit. But that led us to start a peer-led behavioral health organization because I realized people just don't need treatment. They need community. They need hope. They need someone to believe in them while they're learning to believe in themselves. And that's what Painted Brain does. And that's what kind of led me here today.
Wow. Well, what a journey, right? And I'm sure the journey is
Wow.
is still, you're still on it, right? You're still living it as a peer. Um, wow. Well, thank you for sharing and thank you for the work that you're doing with the Painted Brain. And I see that we have several of your colleagues on the phone as well. So I want to give a shout out to them as well for making the time to be here. Um, with as far as being a peer, I know that your work, the name, right, Painted Brain. So you must be doing that has to do with art, right, and advocacy as well.
Yes. So we utilize art as a medium. So me and the co-founders, he's a therapist, and I was like, I'm a collector. I do not know how to draw. But when we started the project, we learned that individuals with autism, individuals that were experiencing hallucinations, when you would just put a piece of paper and a pencil. Like art was the universal language. And we created, like, I feel like we were the uncool kids that became cool. We started as a magazine, just like taking the stigma, trying to take the stigma away, or just show that living with the mental illness, you could thrive. You can utilize art. So we have programs now. So folks that are getting out of jail in LA County, if you're getting out of a hospital, you can go to our arts and empathy program, get an artist internship and exhibit your work. And it leads to, that's how we get you in. So then we got workforce stuff, we got treatment, we got all kind of stuff. So art is the medium, and I think it works pretty well in our practice. And it's so many
Yeah.
ways to express it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, as far as the Miles Hoff Foundation, Miles, I mean, let's talk about Miles. Miles was bright, right? He was amazing. He was an artist. He made his own beats and he was into music and he was self-taught, right? He learned how to play the piano. So when I hear like the art, that's important. Like, and that has been a big factor in our work. Like we've partnered with like Hip Hop for Change in Oakland and did work with the Antioch School District. And we did this whole hip hop thing that had to do with mental health. So I love that you guys are doing the Painted Brain because like it's not, I mean, it's bringing that art into mental health. And I think for me, it seems like so many people aren't are don't normalizing it, right? Like I feel like when you think of mental health, like people don't necessarily want therapy, right? But if you can go to a different angle and use art, it's a different way to release. I see the value in it, and it's been a big part of the Miles Hall Foundation.
That's
So
beautiful.
yeah. So I'm also curious, Rachel. I mean, I think people really want to know, like what appears. I mean, I want to know. This is something that you guys offer for your organization. Um, that you guys have medical peer support specialists.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what that is?
Yes, okay. So this is like unreal that you're even like surreal, like asking this question 10 years, like 10 years ago, it was like us just trying to figure out like how we can utilize our experience to help in the provision of service. But now we get to be a professionalized provision of service, which is called the peer support specialist. And for me, I'd say simply peer support is someone saying, "I've been where you are, and I'll walk beside there with you." Of course, there's billing codes and there's certifications which we offer, but it's really not. We say peers is about. It's not about people telling you what to do. It's about people helping you believe that recovery is possible. Like a peer, for example, a Medi-Cal peer support specialist might help someone make their first phone call, a mother or a father or auntie like me that was crying in the middle of the night. They might help you explain the county services. I literally cried to the head of the county departments about me trying to navigate through the services, and then I go back and tell other peers on how to do it. So, we have the secret sauce to some of that stuff. It's probably you going to an appointment with them. Are you helping them understand their options? A lot of the times, like for example, my family, my niece, when she was going through her schizophrenic episodes, she didn't really know kind of what was going on. And so luckily, I've been trained, but it would be great to have had a peer. And I think it's especially important for our BIPOC community because, as you know, as a mother that has lost a son, many of our communities experience stigma and discrimination, and the systems always weren't welcoming or hard to navigate or always weren't responsive to our needs. And sometimes people need someone to open up to with lived experience, like yourself, Ton. Um, and that's the relationship that bridges the behavioral health system. And it's in substance use and it's in treatment. So basically, I'd say in short, peer support doesn't replace clinical services. It helps people access services.
Okay. So it's also just to put it in perspective, because Miles had schizophrenia, right? And like I think for us, it was if he had a peer or someone he could talk to that had something similar, right, then he would be able to maybe like more relate to them, that person, right?
Yeah, when I was going through episode, I mean, I'm just since we were just being candid because I feel like sometimes us as, well, me as a black person, sometimes we can't, we don't be, we tell us to don't talk about this in front, in front of folks. But
Mm.
I had hallucinations. I've experienced, and I have a master's degree. I own a home, right? And and I need to tell you this. I had the highest level of care, and it was my faith, but it was also peer support that saved my life. There was the nights that I didn't understand the medicine when the medication had, and this really hurts my soul, but there were times I couldn't even, you know, take personal hygiene like activities because the medication made me like be so stiff. And it was, a peer named Tristan that, or Vanessa Ramos that when I called at 2 in the morning and was like, this medication has me tripping, and then it was people that told me about respites. I can't, say that it would have saved my sister, but I
Yeah.
know that this recovery process has allowed me to have tools for people that the clinicians weren't available. And they hadn't taken the medicine. My psychiatrist said she didn't take none of those medicines. So she didn't know about the tartar dyskinesia, or, literally, I couldn't even literally take care of myself, so I say that, we are the ones that won't look at you, with a side eye, because we've been to jail. We've been there. We don't want to go back, and there were times, by the grace of God, I'm alive, so I'm very thankful. And like you said, we're building systems that weren't there for, our loved ones or, having conversations like this.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. I mean, I just really appreciate the work that you're doing. And also just to bring it back to this why we're doing this today, right? Is just to make sure like people don't know what to do like in a mental health emergency, right? Like it is we were having a hard time. We had called the day before Miles was killed, right? And tried to find resources, help. And, I think we just didn't have what we have now. So, I appreciate Rachel, like how you're showing up in this work as a peer, um, to also like kind of normalize too and let people know that like there's hope and there's a way for people to um, connect with themselves, right? And understand that like not everyone has a the same path, right? Like I mean the fact that you had you said you had delusions, right?
Yeah,
You had
I was on medication for psychosis because, uh, you know, uh, trauma can cause, as you know, can cause a number of behavior, not that all of them, but trauma can cause a number of conditions. We don't typically like to label because I've been given 30 different labels since I was 6 and diagnosis. So I'll just describe the symptoms. And I think that, like I said, I don't, but my faith in God is the greatest. But I'm letting you know that there are times that, I mean, I probably didn't think I was gonna make it the next day. Like I couldn't trust myself around anything. So I mean, I could have been dead. And I think that, I had a praying mother, and I think that for black males, I have a black son. I think it's, it's a little different of a path as a black woman, with the mental illness than as a black boy with the mental illness. My son has autism, so interacting with the police might be a challenge. So yeah, normalizing these conversations, and that's why Painted Brain started. We started as a magazine, arts-based magazine, like you said, utilizing music, arts, and trying to do that prevention ahead of time, but being there, when you get out of jail to offer you training, when you get out of that hospital, you want to go into the arts program, you want to get treatment, and then building crisis systems with you, 988, teaching officers. We got folks on the call right now that train cops and train county crisis responders, and it's building that system that we can imagine. And it is like, I think, and so the other thing that we talk about at Pain and Brain is a physical condition can have you in psychosis too, can have you exhibiting, aggressiveness. So I think that, yeah, these conversations should be have as just like we plan for fires and we plan for earthquakes. Like what happens, if we get sick or if we take the wrong medication or we get a condition, a neurological condition. And, so normalizing these conversations is the start, Tan.
Yeah, no, and that's what, as far as like the Miles Hall Foundation and what we're doing is we want to break the stigma. We want to have these conversations. We want to let people know they're not alone, like yourself, right? And you start a whole organization. I mean, that's amazing. But I just want to give you some kudos, like literally, like I mean, you are truly an inspiration of how you turn, I mean, because this is something you live with. This is not something that just goes away, right? But Rayshell, like you are, I mean, I admire you. Like I was like, I mean, we've been having our conversations, right? Like about your leadership and how, but I mean, like thank you. Thank you for being part of this conversation, thank you for being here. Thank you for being vulnerable and just let people see you and like, really just the things you've been through. So